Hi everybody, welcome back to a divorce workshop talks. This will be the last of the 2024 talks that we've had. We've had a great year, a lot of great guests. Today we have Neepa, a divorce coach, coming on, who's going to the divorce journey. So also I want to let you guys know that our divorce workshop is available worldwide on Amazon. Good morning.
Good morning, Karen. How are you?
Good. How are you? I'm a little too high
Good.
there. So I love this topic that you brought up because I think we've all gone through that but not even really knowing we're going through that.
Mhm.
So first of all, before we start, let's just do a brief introduction about yourself.
Sure. So I'm Neepa Padia. I am a certified divorce coach and also a holistic life empowerment coach. And I specialize working with immigrant and expats who are going through various life challenges, including divorce.
Mm-hmm.
So I work with people who are going to divorce, yeah, and help them.
Good, awesome. You can give us the webpage and stuff at the end, but
Sure.
so I find it really interesting with this topic because I noticed myself. I'm going to give you an example. I just want to start off
Mhm.
with a little story. So we had our lawnmower, and this is my flashbulb moment. I remember, and I had it for a couple of years. We had divorced. I had it for a couple of years, and I remember it died. And I remember I put it out to the curb because it has big pickup day. But I remember going, that feels kind of good because I can remember when we bought it, and now it was like I put it to the curb, and now I could get something that I wanted.
Yes. Yes.
So that's the empowerment piece of this, right?
Yes. It's so important, right? And as you rightly said, it's such a small example that you've given.
Mm-hmm.
And then imagine if we applied this concept or this logic at every single step of our life, including like every single aspect and how important, how powerful we become when we declutter stuff which are not required, which are not needed anymore. Like it's like cleaning. We all know the importance of cleaning, at physical level, at external level, we do clean stuff. We keep our house clean, we keep our kitchen clean and our clothes and everything. But if we go deeper, deep down, if we clean ourselves, which I call a declutter or weeding, then you feel the empowerment. You have the fresh air, the space in your own self to create what you want to create, to become what you want to become. So this is kind of a foundation,
Mm-hmm.
and especially when you are going through divorce. And as we all know, when you go through divorce, there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of tension, preset mind, fear, and everything is that it's surrounded. We are surrounded by all of these things, and we cannot think through sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Or when we think with that preset mind or with the baggage from the past experiences. So this is the time the decluttering is so important that it helps you like various at different various level. There's a benefit. It's first of all to your own self. When you declutter, when I say declutter, when you clean all these things, then you have the space, as I mentioned, think through to take right decision during the process. And some things you have the ability and power to let go of some things. It's not that you have to fight for every single thing, but for that you need to have that strength which you can uh, create with the decluttering. At the same time, another benefit I have seen with my clients that when they declutter with the other person, meaning you are going to divorce, that means you are not having a good rapport or good relation with your spouse or ex, right? And that's why you are going through. So you always have preset mind,
Mm-hmm.
prejudices, and then you always think that, oh, he or she would behave like this, he or she is always like this, and we always keep hearing that, and we behave from that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But when we clear that preset things with decluttering or then what happens is again you energize that space between both of you, and now you can also look at that person from the external or maybe a third eye with and you can also respect their perspective as well, because sometimes in the divorce process they might have good points to present, but we are not ready to accept, thinking that, oh, he's or she's not right, she's always against me. But sometimes when we clear this out, we have the ability to understand their perspective as well, and that may work in our favor sometimes. So that's another benefit I
Mm-hmm.
always have seen in my clients. And of course, third is when you are clear with all these things. I'll talk about what are the techniques. I keep talking about
Mm-hmm.
decluttering, but I would. So what happens is now you are after divorce also, it's helpful because you are transitioning into the new life. You're creating your own future. Now, this is an opportunity that you can create your foundation, you can have and it is like a clean slate in front of you, and then you can design it or you can draw what
Mm-hmm.
you want. But when you are decluttered, meaning you have put all your past baggage aside, you are now new to redesign your future. So that's how it is very important that you declutter, you clean, or I would say weed out, which is not needed, which is not required.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
That's a good point. I do have to say though, so in many, I've talked to other with clients as well, is there's some practical items that you have to keep
Hmm.
and you don't really want to keep, but you know what I mean? Like there are some things just because they're expensive or you can't really afford to replace everything. So that's something too, right? That you maybe if it's bothering you to have it around, well, maybe eventually you try to replace it, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's again, it's an external or physical level,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when we work, I think we should work at a holistic level, meaning
Mm-hmm.
including all various different aspects. It could be mental, it could be emotional, it could be
Mm-hmm.
physical, it could be external or surrounded, which you said, like say wedding ring or a wedding band, or maybe at the relation level as well. So when you start working on each of these
Mm-hmm.
different aspects, you actually empower yourself gradually for everything, and you are preparing yourself for any future challenges. So this is not only divorce. It can be, say, you lost your job and you are looking for another job, so you are always overwhelmed. That with that time also it helps. Say you have been through any major illness or ailment, and then you are recovering from that. At that time also it helps. So you lose or some close person, you say someone dies in your family, and you are into that that you always work with people like that, so that also helps. So what I'm trying to say is, as you mentioned, rightly mentioned, yeah, that is one part
Mm-hmm.
that you really don't want to keep it, but you want to keep it. Now how to work on it so that it is like it can help you in your favor.
Mm-hmm.
So uh yeah, it's like at both level, internal as well as
Mm-hmm.
external.
So what are some of the tips then? Because external is probably more
Yes.
obvious, right? Like it is more we when we're divorcing or breaking up or whatever we're going through, even grief loss, there's lots of things around. So that's
Mm-hmm.
external things. And those are what we call linking objects in my
Mm-hmm.
field. So it's
Mm.
they're things with when you're lost somebody, someone's died, generally some of those linking objects you want to keep, okay?
Mm.
But with divorce, it's a different feeling, right? You don't
Yes.
really want to keep everything. So those are the external things.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you give us some tips on how to handle more of the internal things?
Yes. So I'd say it's like working internal is more important, and we should start
Mm-hmm.
with that. Of course, with some example of external, because as you rightly said, it is easy to understand, it
Mm-hmm.
is easy to relate to, right? Say, for example, if you clean your surrounding, your room or everything, you feel fresh. You feel like that, okay, everything looks good. So that's external. But at the same time, if we take the same example and then work on internal, so let's say mental, as I mentioned, given some example that when I'm going to divorce, for example, or have been through any life challenge, I have been overwhelmed for over a very long time. I have that anxiety in my brain, and of course, those brain chemicals also work like that, right? Because when you are always in tension and anxiety, then you always suppress yourself. So you either are in the fight or flight mode.
Mm-hmm.
So on that case, let me give you an example. Say, for example, I my ex is abusive. So I always, when I deal with ex or I talk to them, I'm always fearful. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
always, mostly we are in the flight mode. I don't want to talk to him. He may do this. So, but now we are in the divorce process. So what we need to do is, first of all, we need to, this is one of the technique that I use with my clients, that take a piece of paper or a note, write everything down. Just keep writing with all your emotions, whatever you feel for that person or any particular situation or anything that is bothering you or triggering you, your anxiety, or then write everything down, every single thing, without any judgment, with all your emotions, telling yourself that, okay, I am weeding this out, I'm throwing this out of my system. And then you keep
Mhm.
writing, and you may have to, you may cry, you may just go like, you freeze sometimes, that's okay. Whatever emotions you're going through, just keep writing. It could be like bunch of papers. And then what happens is, once you are writing with that mindset that, okay, I'm reading everything out, so once everything is there and you read it, it actually takes your emotions out because you have suppressed them for so long.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then you tear it, you flush it, or just burn it. So with telling yourself that I'm burning it out, I'm saying, trust me, this is so powerful. When I'm telling people, they think this is so silly. This is
Mhm.
not. This is very, very, very powerful. And this is not a one-time exercise. Keep repeating it
Mhm.
for, say, 10 days or a week, or until you don't feel any emotions. When you write and you don't feel any emotions, it's so smooth for you when you're writing. At that time, you can say that, okay, I have taken all those emotions related to that person or that particular incident out, and that is so powerful. So this is one of the techniques that I use. And as you ask, like, this is how internally you can use. Another technique could be, say, replace. So again, if I have some conflict with a person, it's not that that person is always 100% bad, right? You might have some good experiences with that person. Say your spouse is not good with you as a spouse, but he could be a very good co-parent. I keep saying this
Mhm.
in all our previous days. Could be a very good
Mhm.
co-parent. So I'm sorry, you replace it. Say, okay, you have something preset for that person, but at the same time, there are good attributes in the person. Replace it. When you get some thoughts, replace it. This another technique. This is also very powerful. This again needs some work and efforts, but eventually, it really, because it's tricking your mind. It's like mind power,
Mhm.
working on your mind. So at the same time, I give you some example on emotional. Again, you feel emotions when you go through all this. So then you have to keep an eye that, okay, what emotions are triggered on what situation and where I get triggered. And
Mhm.
then you have to work on those emotions based on the situation. So it is all person based, right? So I cannot like generalize that, but like emotion based, what it triggers, and then we again work on it to stabilize your emotions so that you can feel powerful at this time. Like for example, you have a mediation or a court date and you feel so much fearful, you're sweating, and then you don't know how to deal with it, even though you have all the game plans in mind. You have worked with your, say, attorney or anyone, and you have plan ABC ready, but you are not ready to be in front of that situation and then and negotiate. So again, preparing yourself, removing where you feel fearful, actually work on it. Again, there are multiple techniques, and then you are ready to go and sit in front of your mediator and in front of your spouse to handle it, because your game plan is ready.
Mhm.
It's just how you deal with it or present it where you are fearful. So these are some examples that work at internal level,
Mhm.
and these are very small but very, very powerful techniques.
Yeah, I would say so what you're talking about is narrative therapy, right? And
Kind
so
of.
I
Hmm.
would say that to make sure you continue to do it like
Yes.
all the time, because things will come up, because that's
Hmm.
kind of our childhood trauma as well as what we went through. So, but writing is extremely important. I did it myself when I went through my own. I wrote for 30 days,
Hmm.
3 pages each.
Wow.
And
Mm.
I didn't want to do it all the time. It was a bit too much in my with my clients. I usually
Mm-hmm.
say 4 times a week, 15 minutes at the same spot. I try and get them to a routine,
Mm-hmm.
but it is, and I want them to write uninhibited,
Mm,
like you were saying. I don't care if
mm,
there's swear words. I don't care if it's not even legible, right? I don't
mm-hmm.
care. I don't
No,
care. Um,
it's your
you can,
internal dialogue. Yeah.
yeah, but it does. Narrative therapy has been well researched to really help, and
Yes.
I think that's a really important tool. And then the reframing, yeah, to try, because we're so adversarial in divorce,
Yes.
and we just got to remember who that person is, even though your marriage didn't work out. Depending, I mean, if it's a very abusive person with children too, then this is a whole different talk. But
Yes.
yeah, reframing that is also good.
Reframe.
Yeah, so it's really good that you work on the internal
Mm.
as well as the external,
External.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. External is also equally important. Like at the physical level as well, we say detoxify your body is also
Hmm.
important. Say, again, this may not be directly related to divorce, but say I'm just giving an
Hmm.
example because I've been to a vacation just recently. So I give my own example. That I was in Spain. We spent like whole 10 days eating all desserts and stuff like that. And you have like, but when you come back, you ensure that you detoxify your body, so that, and then you work on it with small things that on your diet, on your workout, on your exercises, have you managed to like reduce your sugar, or maybe you eliminate your sugar from your diet, like just an example. So it's detoxify is equally important, because then your body feels empowered, your body
Hmm.
is healthy, and it's always a connection with mind as well. So
Hmm.
again, to work on internally on your mind at the emotional level, your physical level should also be equally healthy and clean, right? So that
Hmm.
is also connected somewhere, that you need to ensure that you detoxify, or again clean, or keep your body clean internally too. So that helps you work on other aspects. So yeah,
Hmm.
and same way it's on relation. Like some relations are toxic.
Hmm.
Not only it's between ex and spouses, but others as well, right? So you need to ensure that you create boundaries. It's not that even if it's a close relative, but if that is not serving your purpose, or it's not serving for your own life, you need to ensure that you create boundaries. And then how to create boundaries, again, important. It's not a directly a decluttering exercise, but it's part of it, that okay, you have those boundaries or clarity, that what serves purpose and what does not, and then you have that limitations over there.
I think the issue too with boundaries is what I've noticed with myself and clients over the years is that not many of us were taught boundaries. Like we weren't taught these
Yes.
boundaries, right?
Yes.
So I'm teaching my girls boundaries. They still have work to
Yeah.
do, and they're in their young adults. So I think the boundaries, the buzzword of boundaries has been coming up a lot over the years, but
Lord.
it's because we have never were taught it, right? Like
Yes.
we were just taught to do whatever, be good and sit there and and people please and tolerate, right?
Exactly.
And we could even do a live about boundaries, because
Sure.
that's so big. But yeah, it is, especially with the holidays for us, or for Christians, are coming up with the
Mm-hmm.
Christmas,
Hmm.
and you can be put in, just like you with your holidays, you can be put in with family members, and you're like, okay, right? Like here's Uncle Fred, and Uncle Fred always makes inappropriate jokes, or you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, so,
Yes. Yes.
you kind of have to prepare as well
Prepare.
as
Yes.
externally, like you were talking about going there, but also internally prepare for,
True.
because, for what you're going to face with family, as you were saying.
True.
So yeah, it's really,
Yeah.
yeah. And your body, the thing is, the issue I have with your body when you're going through such a stressful time as grief or divorce, your body takes so much,
It
right?
does.
It does. There's like, and it's really hard when you're trying to figure out everything in a divorce, where your children or where, and then to make sure you're sleeping well and make sure you're
Mm-hmm.
eating well. And
Mm-hmm.
so, all we're saying here is just, these are things you should remember, right? Because it's not
Mm-hmm.
always easy to implement at the
No.
time when you're under that great stress.
So yeah, It's like ongoing process, and applying the small techniques are also powerful. When you
Hmm.
learn that, and you when you work on it, whenever you are on any kind of challenge, then it becomes part of your routine, and then it becomes so natural
Hmm.
for you to work on it and empower yourself at every time, so that you again don't fall back in the same situation in future. And that's where we all need to be,
Hmm.
that's why these decluttering things are very important. Said that you clean out what is not needed, what doesn't serve your purpose, and then again you refresh yourself.
And it's empowering. Like
Yeah, it
when you
is
think about it,
very,
like,
very empowering.
yeah, and things, especially when you're going through a really tough time, these are some things that because I didn't really know, right? So these are things that could really help all of us, or especially people that are going through a really tough time. So
Hmm.
and anyways, Holly just said very interesting technique. Thank you, Holly. I don't know
Thank
which
you.
one, but they're all the techniques are good. I also would even mention another one. I've done another live about this, but forest
Mm,
bathing, right? Go out in the
yes.
forest, be in nature. Uh, it's Shinrin Yuku, I think it's called. It's
Yeah.
Japanese. I studied that as well at school, and it's very, very powerful as well.
Okay.
Um, would love a lesson on boundaries. Okay, Holly.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really it is it's very important. It's a very important topic, boundaries.
Yes.
So we will
Yes.
do that. Maybe we
Sure.
can do that in January. So
Sure.
anyways,
Yeah.
do you have any other tips before we wrap up?
So I think there are multiple tools and techniques based on what your
Mhm.
situation is and what is your like coping mechanism, and where what you are going through. But in general, as I mentioned, working on all different aspects is very important.
Mhm.
That it's not just the physical, it's not just the mental, or not just one person, but where you get triggered and where you need the empowerment. If you know that, and if you work on that, and applying all these different techniques, will definitely help you. And if you need to learn more, of course, you can reach out to me or
Mhm.
Karen, and we would be happy to help you. But yeah, keep doing it. The only basic thing is it's a continuous process. It's not that one
Mhm.
time thing.
Yeah, I was about to say, and everyone's unique. So what works for you may not work for me. What
Yes.
works, and you have to kind of, we can give you a bunch of suggestions,
Mm-hmm.
but you're the one that has to figure out which ones work for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's different for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And it's not that you get result in just one
No.
exercise. You have to, maybe you keep repeating it, but and I can assure you that these techniques are very, very powerful once you start working on this. That's for sure.
Yeah, and practice,
That
practice, practice. It's a
practice.
practice, right? It's like,
Yes.
and it takes a while to get used to that practice. And so just continue.
Mm-hmm.
I was very, very strong-willed when I started that narrative therapy. I
Uh,
look back and it was hard. I'm going to be honest. It
yes.
was not easy. That's
Yes.
another thing I want to mention. It's not an easy thing, but it is a really good thing to do. So,
Yes, it is.
and do you have anything coming up that you want to talk about or bring to attention?
Uh, um, Not recently planned, but you can always reach out to my website, where
Hmm.
I always upload and update anything which is coming up.
Okay.
And my Instagram handle, you can start following me so that you can get all the updates. So, yeah, that's an easy way to reach out to me as well.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks, Neepa, and thanks for coming on. And thank you,
Thank you for
everyone who
having me.
joined today. And if you can't watch this whole thing or you want to watch, it's going to be on Divorce Workshop YouTube channel. That's where all the lives go now. And so
Yeah.
it's great, full of information. So, all right, take care, everybody, and thanks for joining. See you,
Thank
Neepa.
you all.
Bye bye.
Bye. See you. Bye.